All paintings that are showing today at Meme Gallery have been painted in Berlin. All of them were conceived during a residency at the Institute for Advanced Studies in Berlin. I did research on the legend of Bilqis. Solomon built a crystal glass palace for her and invited her to come to see the palace, and she came in and she mistook the floor for water, so she lifted up her skirts not to get wet, and he told her that this is glass. And then the pagan queen fell in love with Solomon and believed in the one God he believed in. That was a Qur'anic legend, and based on this legend, a whole aesthetic language was created. So in a way, I took up this myth as a source of a certain quality of aesthetics, and I try to do something with it here. I think of a structure of a painting first like I do the drawings with a pencil and ruler and compass and begin to do all this on gridded paper in a very mathematical way. And then once I see the pattern and the structure correct, I begin to feel this is like the skeleton of a body. And by the time I begin to think of colors, I would be thinking of the flesh and the soul for this body. This is where it becomes to be exciting. I deal with colors also in a very mathematical way. Every tube of color, I have a sample of it on a piece of cardboard. And then after the drawing is all done, I pick up the different boards and I decide, okay, I'm going to work only with these 4 or 5 colors. And I don't allow myself to think of any other color. So the process is also very, very conceptual, but just as the straight line is very conceptual, but then the flowing lines, the chaos of painting itself is something that is very spontaneous, and it comes as long as I'm using those colors I focused on. You know, when I was a kid and I used to go to the Dome of the Rock as a child, this space, I was living in the old city with all these small little alleyways, and then you go into the area right in front of the mosque, and you immediately see an entire universe open to start with. But then once you enter the Dome of the Rock, there is a level of spirituality that one feels that is really overwhelming, and somehow it is that spirit as a child that made me want to sit and copy these patterns as if it was a way of taking home some of this beauty, even though I did not know how this could be conceived. I started doing those drawings, I remember, on plain paper. And then I realized that I could not do the symmetries and and the patterns in straight lines. So then I started doing them on gridded paper. And I would come back and use crayons in different colors to do them. But somehow, after I went to Rome to study painting, and after I went to Washington to study at the Corcoran Museum Art School, these memories came back, especially when I was seeing abstraction and minimalist art, where there was always straight lines, geometric art, and immediately those childhood memories came back. And I started trying to go back to them, to see what I can explore and find in them. And this is where it all started. About 30 years passed before I really was able to touch base with my childhood and create an abstract art that led to this series of the Bilqis series. In Arab culture, words are the most important in Arab life. It has always been, and the word has been the only portable tool of self-expression for people who lived as nomads. I mean, nomads do not create objects. It's sedentary people who create objects. Nomads create words. And in Arab culture, the word is what fascinates Arabs. So in my earliest years of childhood, as I started drawing like all children draw, but I also started writing poetry. And the two always kept on competing with each other until I tried to find a formula where the two work together like your two hands when you carry one thing, like the two wings of a bird that keep the bird flying. And this is what the kind of dance I've done over the last 40 years. I don't know if I would ever totally just keep on painting or totally keep on writing. I feel that would not be possible. I mean, a good painting to me is one that I can look at every day and discover something new every day. I mean, there are times when I go into a museum to see just one painting. I just go in, sit in front of that one painting and leave. Even though I've seen it for 100 times in books, in real life, during my student days, I know that I'm going to the museum now to discover something new, and I always do. When one brings in politics as the food of art, it kills the whole thing. Because the essence of politics has nothing to do with art. When we think of human tragedies, let's think of Europe during the First World War and the Second World War. We have had the greatest shock in human history, in modern human history, where we saw Hiroshima, where we saw the Holocaust. So much killing took place. Then we think of somebody like Henri Matisse, who was sitting in the south of France, and he was painting these women and these windows overlooking the sea in Nice, and the flowers and this. He was not running away from politics. He was saying beauty is more important. And that's why his art lives today, because he was addressing beauty, and beauty lives. And real beauty would live on. So in a way, few artists dare to address that question of beauty. It's easier to do something political. The same happened with the Palestinians. And it's no surprise that most Palestinian art, unfortunately, is contaminated by politics. Because if you want to speak about Palestine, there has to be a point that is much beyond the political. And Jerusalem was there. The history of Jerusalem was there before the history of Palestine began. To go to the essence of things, that's where art is. That's where art comes from. It's beauty that we have to address.